I want to be very clear about something before we get into this. This case file was handed to me by a former sheriff's deputy, a man named Gerald Hatch, who retired from law enforcement in 2003 after nearly 22 years of service. He didn't retire because he wanted to. He retired because of what he found inside this file. He told me, and I'm quoting him directly, "Some things can't be unseen, and some cases can't be closed." Not really. What you're about to hear is a compilation of witness statements, incident reports, and personal journals collected over a 4-year period between 1997 and 2001 in 3 separate rural counties in the Pacific Northwest. The names have been changed. The locations have been slightly altered. But every single event in this file, every single one, was reported, documented, and verified. Nobody was ever caught. Nobody was ever formally charged. And to this day, the case remains open. She was 17 years old, home alone on a Saturday night. Her parents had driven 3 hours to visit relatives, and she had stayed behind because of a school assignment due Monday morning. The house sat at the end of a long gravel road. The kind of road where you turn off the highway and drive for another 12 minutes before you even see the porch light. No neighbors in sight, no streetlights, just trees, and darkness, and silence. She went to bed around 11, said she fell asleep quickly, said she wasn't afraid. She'd been alone before. She knew the house. She knew its sounds. But then something woke her up. Not a loud sound, not a crash, not a scream. It was a voice, a calm, electronic voice coming from the hallway. She lay still for a moment, her eyes adjusting to the darkness. Then she realized it was her father's computer, the one sitting on the desk, just outside her bedroom door, the one connected to a voice-activated search program. Brand new technology at the time, one of those early software systems that could respond to spoken commands. The program had activated on its own. She got up slowly, pushed the door open, looked at the screen. The program was responding to a query. A query that, according to the system log she later printed out and included in this file, had been entered not by typing, but by voice command. The query read, "What that found for us," and the program's response appeared on the screen in plain text. The answer is Thursday, July 4th, 1776. She stared at the screen for a long time. Then she unplugged the computer, went back to bed, told herself it was a glitch, told herself the program had malfunctioned, told herself there was a perfectly logical explanation. She was almost asleep again when she heard it. The computer, the one she had unplugged, activated again. She walked back into the hallway. The screen was glowing, and this time the query on the screen was not a random phrase. The query was her full name, her first name, her middle name, her last name, and the program's response was 3 words. Here is her information. She didn't scream. She didn't run. She said she just went completely cold. The kind of cold that starts in your chest and spreads outward until your hands stop working properly. She grabbed a kitchen knife, locked herself in the bathroom, and sat on the floor until sunrise. The computer, when examined by a technician 2 days later, showed no malfunction, no glitch, no explanation for the activation. The technician noted one thing in his report. The voice commands had not come from inside the house. He was a gamer. That's how he described himself in his statement. He said, and I want you to picture this clearly, he was sitting at his computer at 2 in the morning, in January, in a house at the edge of a forest, with 6 inches of snow on the ground outside. The window behind him was shut, locked. He was sure of it. He was deep into a game when he heard it. A knock, 3 knocks actually, slow and deliberate, coming from the window behind him. He spun around. Nothing, just the glass, just his own reflection staring back at him in the darkness. He turned back to his screen. He tried to focus. He told himself it was a branch, snow falling from a tree, an animal. 10 minutes passed. Then the knocking came again. Same rhythm, same pace. 3 slow knocks. He made a decision that he would later describe as the worst decision of my entire life. He walked to the window. He lifted the blinds. He cracked it open, just an inch, just to look outside and see nothing, and confirmed to himself that it was just a branch and go back to his game. 2 hands came out of the darkness. Not slowly, not hesitantly, they came fast, grabbing the bottom of the window frame and forcing it upward with a strength that shocked him. And then a figure, dressed entirely in black, hood pulled low over their face, began to push through the opening. He fought back. He threw punches, wild, desperate punches that connected with something solid beneath that hood. He grabbed a lamp from his desk and swung it, hard. The figure fell backward into the snow. He slammed the window shut, locked it, pressed his back against the wall and watched through the gap in the blinds as the figure, moving slowly now, one hand pressed to their head, disappeared into the tree line. He called the police. By the time they arrived, the snow had been disturbed in a wide area beneath his window. Deep footprints leading from the tree line to the window, and leading back, but also, and this is the part that the responding officer highlighted in red in his report, there were a second set of footprints, coming from the other direction, from around the side of the house. Whoever had been at that window had not been alone. She lived alone, way out in the country, the kind of place where the nearest gas station is 40 minutes away, and your cell phone shows no signal regardless of where you stand in the house. She had a dog named Riva, a large mixed breed with a deep bark. Behind a heavy door that was always kept shut, Riva planted herself in front of that door and lost all control, clawing at the wood, throwing herself against it, barking so hard her whole body shook. She knocked on the door, called out, "Is anyone in there?" The barking got louder. She made the right decision. She grabbed Riva by the collar, which took considerable effort, dragged her back upstairs, locked the basement door, and called her father. When her father arrived and went down to check the boiler room, he stopped halfway down the basement stairs, because he saw something before he even reached the door. A ladder propped against the basement wall, directly beneath the small basement window. The window that had been intact that morning, the window that was now broken from the outside in. The police found evidence that someone had been in that basement for an extended period of time. Food wrappers, a blanket, a flashlight with dead batteries. Riva had known. Riva had been trying to tell her for days. His father worked night shifts. That detail matters. Remember it. He was used to being alone at night. He had a system. Stay up late watching movies. Wait until his eyes got heavy. Turn off the TV. Lie in the dark until sleep finally came. It usually took about 30 minutes. That night, he was 20 minutes into the waiting. Then he heard something fall inside his closet. He told himself it was nothing. A box shifting on a shelf, gravity doing what gravity does. Then the closet door began to move, not thrown open, not kicked. It moved the way a door moves when something on the other side is turning the handle. Slowly, deliberately, with full understanding of how doors work. It swung open. He pulled his blanket over his head. He made himself as small as possible. He held his breath until his chest ached. Silence for 2 minutes, maybe 3. He lost track. He lowered the blanket from his eyes. There was a figure standing next to his bed. Not across the room, not in the doorway, next to his bed, close enough to reach out and touch him. The figure was looking down at him. He screamed. He threw himself against the wall. He pressed his back into the corner and screamed until his throat gave out. The figure turned its head, looked toward the window, and then, without a word, without a sound, walked out of the bedroom. He heard the front door open. He heard it close. He sat in that corner for 1 hour and 40 minutes before he moved a single muscle. The front door was unlocked when he finally checked. The lock had been picked, professionally. The responding officer noted it was not the work of an amateur. His father changed the locks the next morning. 3 weeks later, someone picked the new ones too. There was a boy next door. His name in this file is listed only as Subject G. He was 17. He had no documented friends, no after-school activities, no social presence of any kind. He was simply always home, always watching. She described him in her statement as someone who made her feel like a specimen under glass. Every time she stepped outside, he appeared, on his porch, at his window, standing in his driveway pretending to check the mail for the 4th time that day. She told him, clearly and directly, to leave her alone. The look on his face that day, she included this detail in her statement twice, was not anger in the way adults experience anger. It was the rage of something that had never once been told no. Pure, undiluted, frightening in its intensity. That Halloween night, her parents left to take her younger cousins trick-or-treating. She stayed home to finish a school project. At some point, she couldn't say exactly when, she felt the mattress shift beneath her. Not the way a mattress shifts when you move. The way it shifts when weight is added somewhere else. She looked under the bed. Subject G was lying beneath her, completely still, staring up at the mattress above him with an expression she would later describe to investigators as peaceful, as though this was exactly where he was supposed to be. She ran. She got to his front door. She rang the bell until her finger ached. His parents opened the door. Subject G did not come out of her house. The police entered. They found him still in her bedroom, sitting on the edge of her bed, holding a photograph. When investigators searched his room afterward, they found a collection of photographs spanning 8 months. Photographs taken through windows, through gaps in curtains, through the darkness. The final photograph in the collection was the one that caused the lead investigator, a 15-year veteran, to close the file, walk outside, and not return to the office for 3 days. It was a photograph of her sleeping, taken from inside her room. The timestamp on the back read 4 months earlier. He had been inside her house before, multiple times, without anyone knowing. The locks had never been touched. The windows had never been forced. He had a key. Nobody ever determined how he got it. This entry is the oldest in the file, and in some ways, the most disturbing, because the victim was 7 years old. His grandmother, a fiercely independent woman who had never driven a car in her life, had left him alone in her apartment to walk to the library, 10 blocks. She told him not to open the door for anyone. She said it the way people say things they believe they'll never need to enforce. The phone rang. He answered it, because he was 7, because he was curious. Because nobody had told him specifically that answering the phone could be dangerous. The voice on the other end was male, calm, unhurried. "Who is this?" He gave his name, his first name, the name his grandmother called him. "Are your parents home?" "No." "So you're home alone right now?" "Yes." "Do you know the address?" "Where are you right now?" He told him. "The neighborhood, the street, the borough." "All right, goodbye now." The man hung up. 53 minutes later, there was a knock at the door. The boy stayed on the couch. He remembered what his grandmother had said. Then the voice came through the door. "I can see you on the couch." He froze. The man was at the window, on the porch, looking directly at him through the glass. "Come outside. I have candy in my truck." The boy ran to the back bedroom and locked the door. The back door began to shake, wood against frame, fists against wood, the sound of something trying to get through. And then, a voice, his grandmother's voice, loud and sharp and furious. The banging stopped. Through the bedroom window, the boy watched a rusted pickup truck pull away fast, too fast, burning rubber on the pavement. His grandmother tried to read the license plate. She got 3 digits. It wasn't enough. She reported it anyway. When they looked at it 4 years later, they found a partial plate matching those 3 digits, linked to 3 other incidents across 2 states, all involving children, all involving a phone call before the visit, all involving a rusted truck. No arrest was ever made. She had just moved in, new town, new start, new house. The sounds started on night 1. Inside the walls, not pipes, not the settling of an old house, something organic, something that moved with direction and purpose, starting in the kitchen, migrating to the bathroom, and by the 3rd night, directly inside the wall behind her bed. She also noticed her food was disappearing faster than she was eating it. She thought she was being careless. Then one night she woke up to the sound of breathing. Not her breathing. She was certain of that in the way you are certain of things at 3 in the morning when the room is completely silent and the sound is coming from somewhere that breathing should not be coming from. She turned on the lamp. The sound stopped. The next morning she turned on the air conditioning. She noticed several vents were producing no airflow. One vent, the one directly beside her bed, had no duct behind it. The ductwork had been removed. She shone a flashlight through the vent slats. The beam traveled several feet into the darkness beyond the wall. And then the beam found 2 eyes looking back at her, open, unblinking, close. She did not pack a bag. She ran from that house in bare feet and did not stop until she reached the gas station on the highway 2 miles away. The police entered the property 40 minutes later. Behind the walls of that house, they found a living space. Organized, maintained, a sleeping area, a small collection of food stolen from her kitchen, personal items, clothing, and a journal. The journal documented in careful handwriting 41 days of observation. 41 days. She had only lived there for 38. He had been inside the walls before she ever moved in. He had been waiting for her. "I have spent 22 years in law enforcement. I have worked homicides. I have worked missing persons. I have worked cases that kept me awake at night, and cases that changed the way I look at the world. But this file, this collection of incidents spread across 4 years and multiple counties, is the one I carry with me, because individually, each case is disturbing, a stalker, a break-in, a prowler. But when you lay them all out together, when you look at the dates and the locations and the methods, a pattern emerges that nobody in this department wanted to acknowledge. The incidents are connected, not in any way we could ever prove in court, not in any way that would hold up to formal scrutiny, but connected. The voice commands on the computer that weren't entered from inside the house, the second set of footprints in the snow, the professional lockpicking, the key that nobody could explain, the phone call before the visit, the man who was inside the walls before the tenant ever arrived. One person, or one network of people, moving through these counties, selecting targets, watching, waiting, testing, and then moving on before anyone could catch them. I am retiring because I have a daughter. She is 19. She lives alone in an apartment 40 minutes from here. And I cannot do this job anymore knowing what I know. This file is being passed to an independent journalist because the department has officially closed every single one of these cases. Officially. They should not be closed. They should never be closed. The journalist who received this file has been attempting to locate Gerald Hatch for comment since 2004. Gerald Hatch has not been seen or heard from since November 2003. His apartment was found unlocked. His car was in the parking lot. The case remains open.